Take a second to think about the essential things in your life. I'm going to assume you thought about the basic necessities of food, water, and shelter. However, I bet bees weren't on this list. Bees are often portrayed in the media as annoying pests that can sting you, and yet, bees are essential for the continuation of humankind and life itself. These small but mighty insects are the primary pollinators that are necessary for about a third of our food production, and without them, many plants would die, causing a severe negative impact on human nutrition and the overall environment. One of the best ways to help the bees is by being a beekeeper and reducing the many threats that they face. Hi, my name is Hailey Fey, and today I'm here to share with you my experience as a 16-year-old beekeeper and also some of the benefits of beekeeping. I began my beekeeping journey by taking an online course with my dad through the University of Minnesota. Last year was our first year, and we started with 3 hives. This year, we were able to successfully double this amount. Beekeeping is a means by which one can provide pollinators to an area, help the environment, and also help with the overall food production. It also allows you to harvest an additional food crop, which is honey. For thousands of years, honey was the primary way of obtaining sugars. Honey is harvested by taking the honey supers off the hive. Each super has about 10 frames of honey stores, and each frame is carefully removed and the bees are shaken from it so they are not transported away from the hive. We then place the honey supers into sealed containers and transport them back to the house. At the house, we take a heated knife and carefully remove the wax cappings. The wax cappings can be used in beeswax products, and the frames are then placed into an extractor, which uses centripetal forces to remove the honey with ease. This preserves the honeycomb, and the bees are able to use it for next year. The honey then drains into a filtered bucket where it can be loaded into containers such as jars. My family successfully harvested about 100 pounds of honey and filled 95 jars this past September over Labor Day weekend. We were able to give these jars out to friends, family, and food shelves. What interested me in beekeeping was how bees are able to operate together to form a superorganism. Much like how we as people have different organs in the body that all must operate together to function their one unit, the bees all must operate together to function their one unit, the hive. No bee is less important than any other bee, and every bee must fulfill their job for the hive's survival. Another thing that really interested me was how bees were able to adapt and change to their environment and changing climates. In the spring, if the hive is healthy enough, it will swarm and split into 2, thus creating 2 new hives. The bees will also, when flowers bloom, they will harvest pollen and nectar and store it in the comb by the brood. They will feed this to the brood and help raise the brood. Brood is the eggs and larvae of new upcoming bees. Pollen and nectar is also stored for times of need such as autumn and winter. Speaking of autumn and winter, male bees exist only during the spring and summer when they can meet with queens from other hives. And in the winter and autumn, they are kicked out of the hive so the hive can preserve resources and huddle together to keep warm. This does, in fact, kill the male bees. However, this is what is necessary for the hive's survival. As temperatures get warmer, the bees will leave the hive and they will collect resources and help raise the brood. Once they fulfill their job, they will die, thus fulfilling their purpose. Queens will live for about 3 to 5 years, and she will only fly once in her life to mate with a male from another hive. She will then return and lay eggs for the rest of her life. As you can see, the queen is circled over there, and she has an orange dot on her. They are the largest bee, and their wings reach about halfway down their back, and as I said, they only fly once in their life. While bees are able to adapt to their changing environment, they still face many threats, with the threats consisting of pesticides used in commercial farming, parasitic mites, predatory insects such as hornets, with their largest threat being habitat loss. If bees have no source of food, they cannot survive. One of the best ways to help the bees face these threats is by reducing the use of a chemical containing neonicotinoids. Neonicotinoids is a chemical similar to nicotine, and it persists through the plant throughout all stages of life, including the flowering stage when bees are pollinating. This harms the bees. A study done by the University of Maryland concluded that beekeepers had lost about 40% of their bees due to this dangerous chemical, and it's so bad that the European Union has banned it in most of its participating countries. What's interesting about this fact is that we can reduce the use of neonicotinoids by 78% by just turning to more environmentally friendly options, such as microorganisms or surface coating of the plants. Mites are encountered in day-to-day pollination when bees are going from flower to flower. We witnessed the devastating effects of mites last year when we lost a hive about 20,000. We are able to take precautionary methods against the mites by conducting mite checks. Mite checks kind of sound odd, however, they are necessary for the bees' survival. We start by taking a cup of bees and placing them into a vented jar. We then seal off the jar and cover them with powdered sugar. We then turn the jar upside down and shake them for about a minute into a bucket. We then fill the bucket with water and the powdered sugar is dissolved, leaving behind black specks. These black specks are mites, and depending on how many are present, we either provide a menicidal treatment upon the brood boxes, or we leave the bees alone and under close monitoring to see if the mites get any worse. The bees that get the fun chance to participate in these mite checks are then returned back to their hives, and they are cleaned off by the other bees and go about their life. Another great way to help the bees is by planting naturally flowering plants such as calico aster, bee balm, and clovers, and by also allowing wildflowers to persist without spraying them or mowing them down. A great example of this was last year in No Mow May when Edina participated in this event. This provided the bees with many essential resources they needed to get their hives going in the spring. While bees are very essential and fascinating, we all must focus our efforts together to help reduce the threats that they face and help sustain their population. Thank you for your time.